Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Flagrant Talk Sports Podcast. It's me, Isaiah, here with my favorite co-host, Mr. Moses Firmino.
How's it going, everybody?
And the draft has come, the draft is gone. The storylines that once were are no more, and we are going to go through and give some loose winners and losers. We're kind of like using that as the template, but it's a draft. We won't know how these picks are going to play out for years on end. Just because we say, hey, we really like your draft and you're a fan of the team, we could totally be wrong. The draft could be a total whiff. And we could
Yep.
say, hey, I don't know about this pick. I don't know about trading up here. And then we look back in 5 years from now and we go, man, that was really dumb. It was a really good trade and we were overthinking. So, putting that caveat out there, basically, this video, we want to talk about some football. We want to talk about the draft, everything as a whole. So, we've got that coming to you. We're happy to be back. Big announcement coming later in the week that I can't say yet, but feel free to follow my social media, Zaya.the.playa, for an update there, and you'll get that later in this week. But Mo, let's get into this video, man. First and foremost, how are you feeling about your team and kind of the draft as a whole?
Yeah, man, it was a really, really good draft. As you said, all the storylines have come and gone. We'll see how they play out over these next few
Yeah.
years, as you stated. But I just think, a lot of teams did what they needed to do, filled those positions that they were in need of, through
Yeah.
free agency and the draft. But there's a lot of teams that I have written down here that just, as you said, it's kind of in the gray area. Did things I liked, did things I didn't like. Apologies for no draft stream this year. It's been busy, but hopefully we
Yeah.
can get back to that next year. And we have some other things planned. So as they said, we got
Absolutely.
some things to come out. So stay tuned for that. But
Yeah.
jumping back to today's vid, Zay, you want to start out in I have a lot to say about my team, but I want to
Yeah.
get there. I want to get there. I'm sure you have a
Yeah.
lot to say about the Packers.
I
I'm just
do. That
thinking
I do.
alphabetically here
Mhm.
based on what we're looking at on our screens. The Panthers
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
somewhere that I
Talk about
wanted
it.
to start.
Mhm.
Unbelievable draft here for Carolina. They get their stud in T-Mac Teteroa McMillan. We knew he
Mhm.
was probably going to be, aside from Travis Hunter, that second receiver picked in this draft,
Yeah.
and rightfully so. If you've seen any film of him, he doesn't need much separation to make a
Mhm.
game-changing grab. That's something that you can't really teach. That's something that these guys just have, and he is one of those guys that has that. Not all about him though. I love what they
Mhm.
did in later in the draft as well. Trevor Etienne out of Georgia, upgrading that mid-tier running back group that Carolina has had
Yeah.
the last few seasons. I think Trevor is going to come in. He has his older brother, Travis,
Mhm.
around. Am I tripping? Travis? Or no,
ETN?
what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it was. I was thinking of Travis Hunter. I don't know what's going on. I'm tweaking.
Makes
But yeah, just really, really good draft here for the Panthers. Getting some defensive help as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's been rough for Panthers fans, but this draft
Mhm.
has given you a lot of bright spots down the line
Right.
here. Especially considering you have your now franchise guy in Bryce Young. After that was looking a little bit rocky, that's
Mhm.
definitely the biggest thing that these teams need is who is going to be our heart and soul at the quarterback position. And I'm sure Panthers fans and many other fans agree that Young is their guy. And
Yeah.
they're doing all the right things to help them out, I would say. And they started in a big part in this draft.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think if you want to label a team a winner, the Panthers are one of the biggest winners to me. And the biggest benefit this year is they have their draft picks. Last
Yup.
year, trading that first round pick, that top 10 pick to the Bears to secure Bryce Young, where the Bears ended up picking Roma Dunze. The Panthers needed that. They needed that pick. They've been a team that have proven they're capable of drafting well, but when you don't have the capital, it doesn't matter how well you draft. You can't make a
Yep.
pick. So I love the Tedro McMillan pick. You needed to invest in that. The receiving core last year, obviously they worked to get it younger. They've been working, but you needed some more flavor. You needed someone that Bryce Young can build a relationship with and have as a legitimate, hopefully, wide receiver one for the Panthers for years to come. So I love
Yep.
that there. The Panthers then two edge rushers that they really needed help here too. The defensive line, they needed some more juice getting to the quarterback, stopping the run, all of those things. And I like you said, the ETN pick is great too, where you just needed something a little more there. Like, I'm not saying Trevor Etienne is the end all be all. He's going to be this bell cow back for the Panthers. I don't think that. But he is a guy where if you can sprinkle some carries in, if he can get some work in the passing game as well, then it's a great pickup for the Panthers. So, really loving this draft. Sneaky team. I need some more time to think on it. Sneaky team to win the South. The more
Yeah.
I consider the Panthers and the way Bryce Young looked the second half of the season, really post benching, he
Mm-hmm.
looked great, looked confident, and like you said, I think he's the guy. And just having that, the security a team has in saying we have our quarterback in a league where it feels like a quarter of the league, 35% of the league every year has this overturn at the position, I think is great. So I really like this draft by the Panthers. One of my biggest winners when I'm evaluating this year's class.
Absolutely, man.
So love that we have that. We're now, and the way we're doing this, we're using the ringer. We're in alphabetical. There's some teams we're not going to talk about. That's okay. That's all right. Like we're not saying you're a winner or loser. This video would be super long if we talked about all
Yeah.
32 teams. So we're kind
Yep.
of skimming through it. And we'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about them
Mm-hmm.
more as we go through divisional stuff and the rest of the offseason. But
Yep.
next up, this is a team we were talking about as well. The Chicago Bears, again, having a good draft class, Mo. I'm really liking what they're building in Chicago, and I am a Packers fan. Is this a draft class that you are liking as well?
I also would say that, as you said, not doing winners and losers. Personally, the
Mhm.
Bears are a winner to me. Um, I know there's the debate about, was Loveland really, should he have gone? Should he have been the first tight end off the board when Warren
Yeah,
is right there with him? If Warren is 1A, Loveland is 1B.
exactly.
Um, he is that good. We saw it at Michigan, a small town Idaho kid as well. Gotta love that. I know the
Mhm.
people over here are excited to see a Idaho kid go top 10 in the NFL draft. Pretty insane and earned for Colston. He was killing it
Mhm.
over there for the Wolverines. Luther Burden, man, I know he's older, but I think he could be, at least this season, I think he might be the best receiver in this draft. Uh,
Yeah.
Coming out year one, with that veteran experience that he has, he's just a stud. I know they got Rome and they got some receivers there, but that offense is going to have weapons on weapons with those
Yeah.
top two guys that they took there. And then just to round out the rest of the draft, great picks. I love Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M. That A&M
Yeah.
defense was nasty, and they had a lot of
Mhm.
guys going this draft. He's probably going to be slotted in there day one. Not sure if he's D-line 1, D-line 2, but he's going to get reps. He's going to be on the field making an impact for this team. Um,
Yeah.
the the Boston kid in me loves the tackle at Trilo in the
Yeah.
round 3 there. But just really nice picks here all around for the Bears up until the final round, and Kyle Monangai, who was a solid
Mhm.
back for Rutgers for a couple of years. Um,
Yeah.
I just think, you're giving Caleb the tools, the keys. He's just got to get
Exactly.
it done, follow the schemes, and this team is in progress to, breaking that playoff curse that they've been on, this last few years, trying to barge their way back in there and
Yeah.
get fans in Chicago hype again for some football. But just really, really solid draft all around here for Chicago.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I love the investment, like you said, in Caleb Williams. You're making it clear, you're getting him weapons, and it- I I do agree that I think Warren probably on paper is the better prospect than Loveland, but it's 1A, 1B. It is still, if you envision Loveland fitting your system more, if you have plans where he benefits you a little more than Warren, you do it. They were both first
Yep.
round prospects. They're both first
Yep.
round talent. They're both lottery talent. So I'm not too mad at picking hairs there and them ending up with that pick. Burden, like you said, his veteran experience is great because you have a very solid crew of weapons there in Chicago. They had it last year, and you have it even more so now, where Burden can seemingly take like Keenan Allen's type of role from last year. So
Yep.
I really like this draft. You invested in Caleb, and then spent like the second half of the draft really hammering in on some defensive picks. So I like it. Bears again, as you said, are a winner to me as well. We can go ahead and scroll on through some teams. Stop me if there's, well, here's a team. Here's a team.
Yeah.
The
Let's
Cleveland
stop
Browns. The Cleveland Browns. As you can see, there's a lot of writing, but we'll ignore that. We got the
here.
Browns. Here are their picks. Um, this to me is exactly why the video shifted from winners and losers to there's a little more I want to talk about. And I can start here with the Browns. They have probably the most controversial draft of any team because
Hmm.
there's some picks here I really love, and there are some picks here that make me scratch my head a little bit. Um, Going through it, love the Mason Graham pick, him
Yeah.
falling to you at 5, very solid. This comes off the back of the trade with the Jaguars where they moved from 2 to 5. They passed up on Travis Hunter, which in hindsight, they could have had him and Shador hilariously, but um ended up trading back. I love the trade back. If you're going to do so, if you're going to pass up on, I would label, and I don't use this often, I would label Travis Hunter a generational prospect simply because we haven't seen something like this where the Jaguars today and they're bringing him in talked about like, no, we want him to be him. We want him to play both sides. So you do pass that up. What you get back, that first round pick, that early second round pick next year, you only move back from 2 to 5. So you stay in that top 5 and you get Mason Graham, who can really beef
Hmm.
up that defensive line. I like it. I like the trade back. If you're going to move back and you're going to pass up on Travis Hunter, knowing what an amazing prospect he is, I think you got good value. Schlesinger as well. I really like this pickup out of UCLA. One of
Yeah.
those prospects that can contribute immediately. So really like this and all of the playmaking that he can kind of bring to that defense. Especially when it comes to chasing down running backs. That's one of his best skill sets.
Yeah.
The Judkins pick, the running back out of Ohio State, is a little more complicated. I like the pick. I definitely
Yeah.
see him as this Nick Chubb caliber replacement. I see where he fits in on this offense. Makes total
Uh-huh.
sense. Is it a little high? Are there other running backs that maybe you could have gotten at a better value? Maybe. And it's even proven by one of the weirder things. You draft Dylan Sampson with the 126th pick, the running back out of Tennessee. So you do this, and then you get to the big one. You draft Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round out of Oregon. And then the 5th round rolls around, and you pick Shador Sanders. So you pick 2 QBs and 2 running backs in this. And I like the other 3 picks. I like the value of Shador. He, to me, and I guess now is a good time to touch on this.
Yep.
If I were talking about strictly talent, I would say was a late first to mid second round talent. I think that's where he sits in this class. Well, obviously, when you're a quarterback, you get that rub, you get that boost. I think Abdul Carter is the best talent, maybe in this draft. I think Travis Hunter is a better talent than Cam Ward. But when you have a quarterback that is very good, like a Cam Ward is, they get that rub. And I like the Shador pick. I think it's great value. This Browns quarterback room is very odd. You have Joe Flacco, you have Kenny Pickett, who's on his 3rd team in 3 years, and you have Deshaun Watson, who will never take another snap in a Cleveland Browns uniform again. So I understand adding it. I think if you were to remove the drama of everything that went on, Shador might be the favorite to start, at least at some point this year. Maybe you roll with Flacco as the starter out the gate, but
Mm-hmm.
it's weird because I love the trade back in terms of value. I like the pick at 5. I like the pick at 33. I like the pick at 67. I'm not mad at Judkins at 36, even though maybe it is a little high, but you're keeping him in state and him getting to play at Cleveland is great. So
Yep.
it's not this home run draft. There's things I really like about it, and there's things that it's not even that I hate, but it confused me. Moses and I were drafting or texting during the draft like Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd, and then Shador hits, and we're like, wait a minute. Like, and the reaction in the draft in the war room was weird with
Yeah.
Shador. It felt like ownership or someone being like, make the pick.
Mm-hmm.
Just pick him. It's great value. Just pick him. And the
Yep.
Browns maybe were like, well, we got Gabriel. We don't need to. And it's weird. Everything about it's weird. I'm rooting for Shador. I am. I am rooting for him, especially the way he was talked about over the past couple days have been weird to me. So
Yeah.
that's my long-winded one. This is definitely the most layers to pick at, I think, in a draft. To pick
Yep.
it, some might even say. Terrible
Yep.
pun, but that's what I've got for the Browns about. What do you think? Do you
I
feel more confidently about it?
No, I'm right there with you, man. Not to beat a dead horse, but really love the Graham pick there at 5. Obviously, Abdul Carter was the best defensive tackle, edge type player in this draft, but Mason Graham was right there behind him on the defensive front. UCLA turning into a little bit of linebacker university, at least the last few
Right.
seasons, with these linebacker prospects that they've been producing. I think Schlesinger is going to be great for them. Day one, the Judkins thing, as you said, not mad at it. He's a national
No.
champion. He's 21 years old. The upside is there, but a lot of
Mhm.
great backs in this draft, and you did end up taking one at 126. So a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
I love the Shador pickup. I mean, dude, that is the value. It's you can't deny what you got there, but it's just why are you taking Gabriel in round 3? As you said, it seemed like front office someone just said pick him because the pick doesn't
Yeah.
make sense when you look at the previous picks. I think it's gonna work out, as you said. Maybe give him some Drake May treatment where Brissett was playing to start the year and getting them through, to kind of the rough part of the season, so to speak, for the Pats, and then handing him the keys. But I just a big question mark here for the Browns. I would love to
Yeah.
hear what the fandom has to say about their draft
Mhm.
because yeah, this is the first team I would say that they were a winner. They were slightly is it I don't even know if you could say loser. Like it's just like
That
it's weird, as
yeah.
you said. So I'm right there with you, man, on this Browns team. As
Yeah.
you said, biggest layers to pull back and dive into, but We'll see. We have no idea.
see.
We got years. Well, we got years of
Exactly.
time to see these players unfold and what they can do. But if
Yeah.
if if Shador ends up being a starting quarterback, and he very well should be in this league,
Mhm.
we might look back at this draft a lot differently. But as you said, some contradictory picks here.
Yeah. And there's so many layers too on top of this draft of like you did pass on Travis Hunter. And what if Travis Hunter is as good as advertised and you
On
have to
both
live with
sides of the
that?
ball. Yeah.
What if
Which
Travis Hunter
they would have loved the corner help. They would have loved the receiver help.
y-
They need
yeah,
both of those.
both. So
Yeah.
you're missing that. You know you're missing that. You traded back. So you did that with intent. Then there's the outcome of what if he isn't as good as advertised and that Jaguars team isn't good and you end up with another top 5, top 10 pick in your pocket next year. All of a sudden it's like, wow, this draft looks even better because you're
Yep.
extending that value to next year. So there's so many things. I think this draft has been the most interesting to look at because I would lean towards loser, but that doesn't even feel right because there's
Yeah.
so many variables going into it. So a fun team to talk about, the team I was most excited to talk about. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, we can move on now. Cowboys had a good draft. Didn't plan on talking about them.
Yeah,
Um,
I liked what they did, but
yeah, Broncos, I liked what they did. Lions, I'm not going to critique a Lions draft class. So
I love
I believe
Hussein going to a
yes,
D-line university in
yes,
Detroit over there.
yep,
Hopefully he
yep,
can earn his way onto, the team, get some reps.
yep.
But yeah, man, yeah, you can't hate on the Lions draft. Like
No,
they've been doing it these last few seasons. There's
yep.
not too much to say
It
there.
It's how I feel about the Rams too, where a lot of people have labeled the Rams as like a loser. And for me, with how well the Rams draft, I trust the process. They're one of those teams where
Yeah.
I give them that. The Baltimore Ravens, you get that. I don't really care who you pick because I trust that you're going to pick well. Um,
Yep.
On to my team, the Green Bay Packers. Complicated again. Um, I would I would lean loser if I had to, but it's not that simple.
Yeah.
So I'm a Packers fan, obviously, and I can't name the last time in my life we have ever picked a receiver in the first round. And we did that this year with the 23rd pick in Matthew Golden. He's a guy who I have a lot of excitement about. It's a dude who I loved at Texas. I loved going into the draft. I was like, man, it would be awesome if he landed up on my team.
Yeah.
And he did. And this is a team that drafts receivers in the second round. They draft receivers in the third round. They have the deepest receiving core, obviously, in football. There's a lot of names and there's a lot of players that do great things. So you add Golden to that mix, I'm not mad at it. That's a great pick, and I think he has great upside for years to come. Similar to what I
hmm
said with Bryce Young, while Bryce is younger, you're giving Jordan Love a younger weapon that he can build that camaraderie with for years to come. With a Jaden
Yep.
Reed, with the way we saw Tucker Croft at tight end, was amazing, historic type year with the Packers last year. So I like that. It then gets more confusing for me because as someone that saw the Packers, our biggest need, in my opinion, was addressing that defense and putting more pressure on the quarterback and stifling more
Right.
of that run game and yeah,
Yep.
getting some more sacks, doing some of those things. It wasn't the worst in football, but I think if you want to reach that Super Bowl and win one, that to me was your biggest need. And you then draft a second receiver with the 87th pick. So two of your top three picks, two of your picks in the top 90 are receivers. And I like the Anthony Belton pick a lot.
Yeah.
This is an offensive line that also needs help. We saw Jordan Morgan, we spent a first round pick on last year, where I believe he only started 3 games, 4 maybe. It wasn't a lot. And I'm not saying
I
that
know a little
he's
something
not
about that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, it's not to say that he can't be a staple on the offensive line for years to come, but that was his rookie year, and the numbers are the
Yeah.
numbers, the plays are the plays. It's how it goes. So,
Yeah.
I like it. I don't know if Matthew Golden profiles necessarily as a wide receiver one either. Like, he doesn't have the prototypical wide receiver one build, but I think he's going to be great. And I know Jordan Love is real excited to have that as a weapon. I think Williams is a guy
Absolutely.
who can take the top off the defense, can do some more gadget stuff when he gets the ball in his hand. My
Yep.
biggest critique with him, and it reminds me of another wide receiver out of TCU a couple years ago that I was hypercritical of. He likes to react before the catch, and that causes problems for Williams. When he gets the ball, he can make some extremely flashy, sexy plays that end up on Instagram and all that stuff. But that's my one thing. He can fix that 100%.
Mhm.
He can 100% fix
Mhm.
that. But you're spending another receiver pick there. It makes me think, all right, Christian Watson probably gone soon. I think the injuries have hit the point of
So
it
sad.
might have to happen. Yeah. Romeo Dobbs and Dontavian Wicks and all of these names, and you're adding 2 new receivers there. You have Musgrave and Croft as tight ends. Like, I don't hate this draft, but I don't know if it addressed the needs necessarily that I thought we would have tackled. So that's where I'm at. I think Jair Alexander is leaning towards coming back. So that is an
Huge.
interesting development there in that secondary. Yeah, where we haven't known. Um, but that's what I've got for my Packers as a fan. For you, as someone who doesn't have that investment, is there anything here about this draft class you feel strongly about?
I really like Golden. Um, as you said, it must be good to take a receiver in the first round for the first time since long before we were born.
Mhm.
But just yeah, I feel like as you said, there were some other more maybe uh, I don't know how to I'm struggling with the phrase needy, more
Yeah, like
prominent
glaring needs.
needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, more glaring needs that you probably could have used maybe that Williams pick on. Even though I
Mhm.
love the Belton pick, maybe you go with a D-line edge rusher there. Like they
Yeah.
did later in the draft, but you're you're taking that risk on these guys who have fallen for a reason.
Yeah.
So I would, as you said, would probably lean loser, but I
Mhm.
I trust LaFleur. I trust the unit that you guys have. The talent is there to get it
Yeah.
done. It's just, can it happen? Can they break through this stacked NFC to reach,
Yeah.
potentially a Super Bowl and winning that first one with Love, which it's gonna happen, knock on wood. I hate to do this
Yeah.
to you, but with how good
I
he is, it has to happen in
Yeah.
Green Bay. So I'm again, I feel like we've been pretty similar, at least in our last few things in the sports
Mhm.
realm, but I would say great minds think alike.
Yeah, man. And again, it's not a bad draft class. It is just more of like, okay, we'll see. Like, I like the players. I don't know if they were the right player, I guess is the
Yeah.
bigger thing there. But Belton's a beefcake. I'm excited to see him grind down there on the line, but we'll
Yep.
see. That's what I've got. Of course, got to talk about our teams. We would talk about your team regardless because I love their draft, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Texans, I I'm iffy on. I don't know if this is a team you want to talk about or had, but
We could touch on them. The
yeah.
double Iowa State receivers is interesting. You're bringing chemistry in, but I
Mhm.
I guess with Tank Dell's question marks and
Yeah.
with Diggs on his way out of town, you kind of had some
Mhm.
holes to fill there. So I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
I really liked some of these late defensive picks for them and Smith and
Mhm.
Reed, USC and Penn State for the secondary. I
Yeah.
think they're going to be great for this Texans team, but I, the O line has had some question marks,
Mhm.
some glaring issues, especially with Stroud. Being that franchise piece, you got to protect him. You only take
Yeah.
you take two linemen, one of them being your last pick of the draft. Two guys who, you know, nothing flashy there, but you
Yeah.
needed the bodies. I can't be mad at the pick. I'm kind of surprised they took a quarterback in this draft.
Yeah.
Some interesting picks here, I for sure with the Texans. I'm glad you stopped on them. I didn't have them written
Yeah.
down, but
I I didn't either. A lot of people have had them lower in terms of from what I've gathered online. A lot of people are more iffy on this. I
mhm,
understand because again, like the Packers, I don't know if you're necessarily addressing needs, but to that counterpoint, you did need help in that receiver room. You needed help with Nico Collins because he is incredible. And as much as
yeah,
I've loved Tank Dell, the injuries have really stacked up
brutal,
and they
man.
concern
Yeah,
me. And that's heartbreaking. That is the sport, sadly. And so I understand them saying, "Hey, we're gonna address it. We're gonna spend 2 picks on receiver, and they both have chemistry, and we're gonna bring them both in, and we're gonna bring in Woody Marks as a running back to help add some juice there, and behind Joe Mixon." So I like it. It's one of those drafts that I think is like middle tier. Like I don't really have a
yeah,
ton to say. I like it overall, but I do think people, from what I've gathered, have been a lot more hypercritical of this. So figured
yeah.
just giving a little detour here.
Mhm.
Colts, uh, don't really have a ton to say. Jags, is this a team you'd like to talk about here? We want to at least touch on the Travis Hunter.
We we may as well.
Yeah.
You get that franchise cornerstone player, which Jacksonville has been lacking for a while now, honestly, since and he wasn't even really a franchise cornerstone. He was just kind of the face there with Ramsey on defense.
Yeah.
It's been a while, and with Trevor and his recent struggles and the recent hubbub surrounding him, I love giving him another threat on offense. And, it's pretty
Mhm.
cool that that threat on offense can also be your number one, number two corner. Um,
Exactly.
pretty, pretty crazy that we can even say that. But
Mhm.
outside of Travis and what it took to get him, which it was a haul, rightfully so. Um, like some of these other picks here, Kaiser
Yeah.
from Notre Dame in the middle rounds there,
I
that brother
had that
is
too.
he is
Mhm.
like he's tough. He is I could see him being, and I'm not gonna go crazy here because this is obviously an all-time great linebacker. He
Mhm.
gives me Keekly vibes. That
Yeah.
that guy in the middle of your team that knows the formations, knows the fronts, knows how to get his guys set. That Notre Dame
Mhm.
defense was behind Marcus over there. Them boys were getting after the
Yeah.
some of the most high powered offenses in the country. So really like that pick there. Great value. You get
Yeah.
another Auburn linebacker in McLeod a little bit
Mhm.
after that. I just very solid all around outside of
Yeah.
Travis, which is the big thing because you spent a lot of capital to get him. So you got to make sure that these picks are hitting.
Yeah. This draft class will ultimately, when we look back on it, be graded off of how good Travis Hunter is. If we're being totally honest, that will be
Yeah.
the deciding factor. You gave up a ton to get him. If it works, people are going to look at this draft class a lot more like, wow, it's amazing. If it doesn't work, they'll say, hey, I like the picks outside of it, but you missed on the big one. So it is what it is. But I agree with you. I think one of the most complete draft classes addressed a ton of needs. I love them doubling down at cornerback because that is something they really, really needed help with. So I like them doing that on top of Travis Hunter and just really trying to stack that secondary up with some talent. Overall, just complete. You addressed basically every position of need on your team. You got this generational talent in Travis Hunter, and now it remains to be seen. But I loved the interview today that they had with Travis, where the GM talked about him. So I'm bought in. I like this
Yeah.
class, and I'm going easier on giving up the first round pick next year because the last time I was that hypercritical of a team, we didn't have a channel,
Yep.
but it was the Houston Texans, and I was on ass. I was like, what are you doing? You don't do that. That makes no sense. It's panned out pretty well for him.
It
So
worked out.
I take that back. Yeah, so
Yep.
I've now sobered up on, all right, instead of being now, if this pick ends up in the top 5 next year, we're gonna be looking at it like, damn, it was a lot, but
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. Kansas City,
Dude,
Kansas is
they
addressed
did it
more.
again.
Yeah, it's pissed me off. it's a good draft class. That's really it. We could stop on the Raiders. Obviously, our boy Genty going at 6 by default. We were gonna love it. But I love this Raiders draft. I really,
Yeah.
really, really do.
Mhm.
Complete all the way around. I love them revamping this offense, spending when you look at their picks, you go running back, receiver, tackle, receiver. Like you just add all of this new life on an offense that desperately needed it. And
Yeah.
you have Geno Smith there now at quarterback. You have Pete Carroll there as a head coach. I'm really liking what the Raiders are building. Are they a playoff team this year? I don't know. But what I do know is they got better. I really like their class. And having that bell cow running back that you can pound the ball with 20 to 25 touches whenever, pretty awesome. So that's what I've got for the Raiders. A lot more simple. I really love their draft.
I fully agree. Got the things they needed, got a potential talent here in Genty who could be it's crazy that he is going to be the second highest paid running back in the National Football League and he hasn't even played a snap. Just goes to show that, running backs don't normally go this high. This draft though, I love it. And I know they got Geno, and I know this is a crazy comp because it was only a few good years, but Cam Miller out of North Dakota State, they've produced some guys over the last few years. Now have they had, the craziest NFL,
Right.
careers? No.
Yeah.
But he's got some speed. He's got some juice, similar to what Geno had. He still has it, even though he's getting older. Perfect guy to learn from. As you said, just all around great draft for Vegas.
Solid.
Yeah.
Love it overall. Chargers, I didn't have really anything here. Rams, again, the Rams, I don't care who they pick. I'm gonna say they're solid because I assume
people were hating. Yeah, people
I
were
know.
hating. It's just give them a year or two. One of these guys is
Yeah.
probably gonna be all pro or some shit. So
yeah, without a doubt. No first round pick. It's like doesn't matter. They're gonna hit on everything. So that's how I'm there. I didn't have anything for the Dolphins.
I
Liked their draft
missed
overall.
Ollie Gordon. I like Ollie Gordon
Yeah.
going to the
Yeah.
Dolphins. I didn't see where he went. I like that a lot.
And the Quinn Ewers thing. I loved quick point about the Quinn Ewers. I love Gruden. I love that he's doing his QB camp thing again, and
Yeah.
him talking about the leg back. And you were saying he picked that up by being with or watching Aaron Rodgers and all that stuff. And Gruden's like, get rid of that. That's crap. Like, let him. He said, I think the funniest thing, and as a Packers fan, you feel it more. He said, I think Aaron Rodgers is a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian. And I'm like, that is the most perfect take of him as a human and a
Yep.
football player that I've
Yep.
ever heard. So I I loved that. And then they went into the whole ayahuasca thing. But that was a funny segment if you guys have not seen it. But
Hmm.
yeah, I like this draft for the Dolphins overall. Vikings are a team I really didn't love, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
and the lack of just overall capital in this draft and really high picks, like we'll see. But they spent that draft capital to get Dallas Turner last year, so I understand, but it does make
Hmm.
for a draft class where there isn't as much to talk about this year. I do really like
For
the
sure.
Donovan Jackson pick, but
For sure.
yeah, that's where I'm at with them. Now, baby, Mo, all you, man. Talk about your Pats because what a hit. What a haul.
Dude. So I'll be honest here. I was
Hmm.
originally kind of, I wasn't feeling it. I know we need to protect Drake May. I know the O line is an issue. I just I don't like using a pick that high for alignment. That's just me.
Hmm.
But after some research and some interviews and some talks, Will Campbell, I think, is the truth. And him and Drake May are going to be a tandem to be reckoned with for years to come.
Hmm.
Absolutely love the pick. Complete 180 there from me. Props to the Pats organization going out and getting a guy with this character. He's saying all the right things.
Yep.
Just making me very excited to see football. Not saying the Pats are going to be a playoff team or anything of that sorts, but we're building, man. We're getting there. We're getting back to where we need to be. Continuing on, Travion Henderson, the second Ohio State running back to be picked, a couple picks after his partner in Judkins. Again, similar to Judkins, could it be considered a reach because of how many good backs were in this draft? Yes. I like
Hmm.
the championship upside we're getting from him, fresh off a natty. He's been a stud at Ohio State since he started there in 2021. I believe he was all Big Ten team 3 out of the 4 years he was there, and the 1 year might have been, or no, sorry, he started in 2021. I almost said COVID. Cap. Anyway, Henderson, I'm not mad at it. We got Rammy, so it's not like it was a glaring issue, but something that Rammy has been struggling with Ramondre Stevenson. He's been struggling with carrying the ball. Henderson had 1 fumble in his collegiate career.
Yeah.
Gotta love that. Kyle Williams, a guy out of Washington State who I got to see live against my Boise State
Yeah, man.
Broncos. He had a great game in that one. Just did a little research on him because I knew he was solid, but 13 games this last season at WSU, leading receiver in all of them but 4. Just love having a guy who wants the ball in his hands, has been a wide receiver 1 in the college level.
Yep.
When that position in the professional level for the Patriots has been a little bit shaky. We got Diggs now. We got
Hmm.
some other guys. Like what we're building, finishing it out. Defense and just some of those needs that the Pats needed to get figured out. Jared Wilson out of Georgia, man. That brother's going to be nice. I don't know how much
So
time David
athletic.
Andrews. Yeah, he's just, for a guy that size, he should not be able to move as
Mm-mm.
light as he does. He's going to learn a little bit behind a great center in Andrews, at least for a season. But loving what the Pats did here. Those next 3 picks, Wilson, Woodson, Farmer, big fans. We take a kicker, the first kicker drafted in the draft, which is always a scary thing, drafting a
Yep.
kicker, because there's all these examples laid out from the past of this happening and them being trash. But Borealis was one of the better kickers in college football history. He was 70% or something from 50 plus, which is pretty rare to see at the collegiate level. Getting that solidified, because it's just been a joke the last few seasons as a Pats fan, this special teams game. We also get, I guess, the best long snapper in the country in Ashby, the only long snapper I believe drafted. So, the Pats doing Pats things, going off the board, not caring what people have to say, but the reception has been great all around. We wrapped it off with Minor there out of Memphis. Going to be a solid corner for us. We need some help over there.
Yeah.
No bias. Love the draft, Zay. Let me hear what you have to say about this team.
Well, I can waive any bias. Anyone who thinks there's bias talking about this draft, it really might be the best of every team. It's that good. Love the Will Campbell pick. And I loved the fans immediately in his interview being like, all right, sold. You don't need to see a single rep. But his mentality, him saying, I'll lay my life on the line out there. And if you're Drake May, you're like, oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I needed this. I love it. I know sometimes fans get upset seeing their teams pick offensive line or picking, defensive line because it's not sexy. But the reality is, if you want Drake May to look sexy on that field, you got to protect him. And Will Campbell will certainly do that. Big body, athletic, versatile as well on where you can put him on that line. So I really, really, really love that pick. Henderson as well. I am not as upset with this pick. Not that I was upset about the Browns pick with Judkins, but I like this pick with Henderson because he is good in the pass blocking game. So you're investing in that as well. You are investing in someone who can continue to protect Drake May. And I love that their first 4 picks are either protecting him or helping him in some certain way. Kyle Williams, he's quick, especially off the line. He's quick, he's snappy, and that is something the Pats have needed some weapons. They've needed some more legitimate threats when teams are scouting against them, where they have to be worried about someone. And Kyle Williams hopefully can be one of those guys that they can have for for the next handful of years in that receiving core. Is he going to be a receiver 1? I don't think so, but that doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You just need weapons, you need options, and he provides you with one of those. Love this draft, complete, hit all of these different categories, and overall, if you're Drake May, he might be the biggest winner of this draft. Really invested in him and feeling, if you're Drake May, like, wow, they care. They want me to succeed. They're proving it in their picks. So exciting stuff going on in New England. Again, it doesn't matter if they don't make the playoffs this year. They probably won't, and that is totally fine because you are getting better. You are 100% getting better, and this draft class is proof of that. So love it for New England and what they're doing here. Saints, I don't really have a ton to talk about unless there was something.
No, I don't have anything to talk about here.
Yeah. Obviously, the Tyler Shuck pick has been all over everywhere, especially his combine stuff. But, people taking 1 rep. Now, is the rep one of the worst things I've ever seen? Yeah. But it's 1 rep.
It's a rep, man. Yeah.
And he's older. I understand. I saw something too. Now, I was born in 2001, so this messed me up, and I'm a 2000s kid. He's going to be the final player drafted in the 1900s. I think he was born in 90.
I didn't realize he's like 26.
Yeah. Sorry. That's not I'm sorry. That was mad disrespectful for no reason. I'm 24, but it's the fact you're drafting a 26-year-old quarterback.
In the second round, like I don't know,
Oh,
man. Hey, I love Kelvin Banks. He's gonna be a dog. Like, it's just we
yes.
couldn't do winners and
It's
losers because it's the
yeah,
windshield wipers. Like,
it is. Exact. That's perfect. That's exactly what it is. Where it's like, well, I
yep,
really like this, but this kind of throws me off and all that. But that's really my take on the Saints. I don't know. This is a team
another
I
one,
did want to
man.
talk about.
Yep, yep.
Another one, talk about windshield wipers. I do think the Giants are one of the better drafted teams of this year. I think they nailed it. I think they got great value. They let the board come to them. They made the right pick. You get Abdul Carter, who again might be the best player in this draft.
Yeah.
Like I think him and Travis Hunter are really that battle. So I love sticking there at 3, not getting cute, not trading up, not reaching on a Shador Sanders or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You stood there, you took the best player available, and it also allows now for maybe Kayvon Thibodeau to be traded. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's possible that happens at some point this year. So I like it a lot. I love the Abdul Carter pick, and Giants fans are going to love him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Love the Darius Alexander pick. I love the work that they got in at running back. I love all of these picks. They're all great. I really, really love this draft overall. And then there's the Jackson Dart thing. And to me, I don't really understand trading up. I think if you would have stuck at your pick, I believe they traded pick 34 and 99 for this, is what I think it was. Mo and I talked about this pre-stream, but I think that's what it was. So you didn't trade like a
Yep.
ton. A ton. You didn't do a ton. It's nothing crazy. You didn't give up a first next year. But I don't know if you needed to necessarily. And we went through the board, and hindsight's 2020. Who knows? Maybe the Saints, instead of picking Shuck, they trade up and they wanted Dart. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the case, but I don't know. I'm not in those war rooms. Am I saying Jackson Dart can't be a starting quarterback? No.
No.
I'm not saying that. I think it's totally possible. And Dable is able to develop quarterbacks very well. If I'm being blunt, I don't know the gap in Jackson Dart and Daniel Jones. I don't 100% know. I don't know how. Now, I'm not saying Dart isn't going to be better than him. I'm not saying that, but I don't know how much more he offers that Daniel did not.
Yeah.
I think is kind of my bigger thing. I think he can create some more stuff out of the pocket. He can do some more stuff when plays deconstruct and you know do some things that Daniel Jones couldn't. It's not that I'm this Dart hater. It's not the case, but I don't know if that was the right play. Outside of that, I love everything else. Everything else about this class. I think Giants fans should be happy. I think people looking at this objectively should be happy. And that's kind of my take overall. We'll see with Dart. You know, he doesn't have to start year one. You got Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, so there's
Yep.
no pressure. But
Mm-hmm.
you draft a dude in the first round, you plan on him being a guy for you at some point. And we'll see if that ends up panning out. But that's my take on New York.
I again fully agree with you, man. I love this draft for the Giants. I am not hating on Dart. I think he is a very solid quarterback, and I think he very well could be a starting quarterback for this Giants team. But
Mm-hmm.
it was the trade up. It wasn't anything crazy, but unless they knew something we didn't, which I'm assuming that's why they made this move.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was a little unnecessary, a little bit of a panicky type move that you just needed to get a quarterback because there's too many question marks. But could be a Michael Penix situation where
Yeah, totally.
people are pissed. Like, why are we doing this? This is idiotic. Obviously, two very different scenarios, but looks like he's about to be the guy down there in Atlanta. So maybe Dart's on the same trajectory. We'll see, man. But I not gonna stay on this too much longer because I agree with what you said. Love the draft.
Yeah, I love the draft. I'm not out on Dart. I'm not saying he can't be a starter for years. It's kind of just where I am. I find it interesting. I will say I've sobered up to it a lot more post night one, because night one it was, wait, you didn't, like, where's Shador? What is happening? Like, I would think that would be the
Mm-hmm.
pick. Now
Mm-hmm.
seeing that he slid as far as he did, I am more understanding of it. But still, we'll see. Love the picks outside of it. Abdul Carter is going to be a Pro Bowler for
Oh
years to
my
come.
gosh.
So,
Yeah, man.
Jets, good draft.
Mm-hmm.
That's overall really strong. I like it.
Yep.
Eagles, the rich get richer. It's a great
Dude,
draft, one of the best.
I don't. How do they keep getting away with this, man? They keep sliding up into the first round and getting these stud defensive players that are going to make huge plays for them year one. They do it again. Campbell's going to be a stud. And they didn't need it. They don't need another stud linebacker. But when they see him there at 31, I love taking the shot, and they got it done. And it wasn't like it took too much out of them. I guess we'll see over the next few years what those picks end up looking like. But
Right.
as you said, man, the rich just keep getting richer, dude. The Chiefs did it. The Eagles did it. It's gotta respect it. It's sickening, but you gotta respect it.
It's the biggest thing with me. I love the Eagles drafting every year because they use my mentality when it comes to drafting. I am a BPA guy. I'm best player available. When you're in the
Yep.
spot. Sometimes if you're like, listen, we're at pick 5, we don't have a quarterback. We think this quarterback is the 8th best guy in the draft. We'll reach a little bit over another. Then I'm cool. I'm not saying every time. But when you're winning and winning and winning, and you're coming off a Super Bowl and you get to do whatever the hell you want, and your team is seemingly built to continue competing for Super Bowls year in and year out, you get to do the best player available thing and just like, hey, why not use this draft and beef the hell out of our defense? Because it was really weak last year. So
Yeah,
you
really
definitely needed
struggled.
to really struggle. So it's like, we saw it in the Super Bowl how bad it was. So the Eagles are just, it's spoiled. They're in a spot to come out of the NFC again and maybe win back-to-back Super Bowls. So love this draft. That's it. There's really nothing
That's
more for
all.
me to say.
Yep.
It's great. Steelers, I have one thing. And it's not even someone they drafted. It's what they didn't draft. They took Will Howard out of Ohio State at pick 185. As of now, don't know who their starting quarterback is. It seems like it's Aaron Rodgers. It feels like the only thing that hasn't happened yet is a contract signing. Because if not, we're setting Mike Tomlin up to fail.
For the first time.
I'm Mr. Every year when we do our picks, I say, well, the Steelers are going 9-8, 10-7. Doesn't matter. I don't need to know who's on their team. Don't need to know anything. The gap is so big at quarterback where they would have the worst quarterback room in the league, bar none. To me, it would be that bad. And the Aaron Rodgers you are getting, it's not like is anything crazy. He was bad. And he's old, and he's coming off a significant injury 2 years ago. It's you're setting Tomlin up to be in a very difficult spot. and you invest in that receiving room, you get DK Metcalf, you do all that stuff, and then you don't give them a guy to throw the football to. And
That's what I was gonna say, man. I love these moves. The great offseason for the Steelers. Add DK, move on from Najee, who was solid,
yeah,
but you know what the talk has been about him the last few years. But and then you don't get a solidified quarterback. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the natty champ Will Howard comes in and is their day one starter, and knowing Tomlin, they squeak out a 9-8, as you said. But that just seems very, very slim, very
yeah,
unlikely.
yeah.
It's
You're setting him up to fail.
yeah. That's how you lose a player's confidence, you know, and ruin their career. Seen it
Yeah.
in New England with Mac, even though it started on a high and then it just dropped off from there. So I didn't have them on my list, but I'm glad we stopped here.
Yeah, great draft outside of that. I really love the stuff that they did. I think Caleb Johnson can be a beast. He's big, he's
Yeah.
physical behind a
Yeah.
Najee Harris. I like what he brings there in that running back crew. Derek Harmon is great. And I like this draft overall. I like the moves they made in the offseason. But the quarterback thing is like, and again, don't draft a quarterback for the sake of drafting one. I understand. I do. I'm on that side. You don't draft a guy strictly because, like, well, F it. Our fans are going to be mad. We got to spend a first round pick. The Steelers never do that. The only time they really did do that was Kenny Pickett, and it didn't work out. So I understand
Yep.
they're maybe a little jaded or negative about that feeling, but I know they're not a team that takes these big swings at QB, but at some point, brother, you got to do something. You have to do something. You got to spend money at the position if you want to win a Super Bowl. Like,
Yep.
it's got to happen. So that's my overall take there. Niners, don't love their draft, but it's the 49ers, so we'll see how that goes. Really like what the Seahawks did overall. They weren't a team that I made note of, but contributions everywhere. Jalen Milroe potentially as the future quarterback in Seattle. We'll see
Mm-hmm.
how that pans out. Like it for
I
the
love the
Seahawks.
Seahawks drafts. I love it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I really like Tampa's as well. I think yet again,
Mm-hmm.
it was quality, not quantity for them, and they drafted well across those positions. Tennessee, obviously the number one overall pick, Cam Ward. This is your guy. The biggest loser,
Yep.
maybe in all of this, is Will Levis, and maybe the
Yep.
entire thing because
Yep.
that's done. We'll see what Cam Ward can be. I don't think he's this generational talent, but he's a damn good talent. I'm not mad at them spending that first overall pick on him
Mm-hmm.
because he has that upside. Now, was I pissed watching the draft when the first person they compare him to is Mahomes? Yeah, that's annoying. That is, you're setting him up for failure. He's not Mahomes. There's one Mahomes, and that's okay. Cam Ward
Yeah,
is great.
there shouldn't be comparisons.
No,
Yeah, we
don't
just
do
gotta
that.
be yeah,
Don't do
we gotta be better, man. We gotta be better.
yeah. Like that's really it. You're setting him up because then people that have never seen a snap from Cam Ward are like, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes." No,
Ooh.
don't do that. Just because he can create outside of the pocket and he makes some sexy plays where he's diving and he's able to make this. Oh, he's Mahomes. No, he's Cam Ward.
Yep.
He's Cam Ward. That
Yep.
that's my biggest thing. But I like it. If you're gonna spend that
Great
pick
draft.
on a QB, he was my QB1. I'm not mad at drafting Cam there. So like the draft overall for the Titans, trying to revamp
Absolutely.
that team. And the last team got the Commanders. Solid overall. That's really it. I don't have anything else to add. So
I just want to say I think we're turning a new leaf, Commanders fans. I know we've had this love-hate relationship the last few years, but I'm riding with y'all. I rock with y'all. I
Yeah.
respect y'all. Jaden Daniels to the moon. Come on, Commanders fans. We've been through a lot together, but let's just take this moment to have this camaraderie, have this toast to a great season for Washington.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to continue. I think it's only up from here.
Yeah, one of the funniest early lores of this channel. That was when within like the first 2 to 3 months of us ever starting this up.
Yep.
I don't even feel that way about. I didn't feel that way about the Commanders at the time. I don't know why it started. I don't know why it kept going, but Commanders fans, I'm very happy for you. Jaden Daniels is the man. I'm excited to see what you're building, and I think the Commanders are poised to be back in the playoffs again this year, at least in that mix. So that's the draft coverage. Skimming through a ton of teams, talking about teams that we really liked, teams that, maybe we had some more controversial thoughts on, but that's what we've got. Let us know your winners, your losers, all that good stuff in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys think, or tell us about your team. Do you hate your draft? Are you a Packers fan as well? And you're like, no, I loved it. I thought it was great. That's great too. But always feel free to comment. And before we depart, Mo, we know SOTP, Song of the Pod, Mo. What do you got for the people?
I'm going mainstream. Money. You notice how I'm not showing the inside of my wallet because there's nothing in here. Money on money. Young Thug single featuring Future. Day after my birthday. Banger. If you haven't tuned in, I'm sure you have, but I needed that. I needed some Thug, and he delivered.
Yeah, it's a great pick. I've got So You Know by Overmono. It's a great album overall. I don't even listen to a ton of dance hall-y type club music in my day-to-day when I'm normally doing stuff, but man, when I'm working or if I'm on a run, it feels great. I love listening to it. So
yes, sir.
Gets the people going. That's what we've got for y'all. Let us know your thoughts. Can't wait to keep talking football. Again, big announcement coming later this week. Excited to share that with everybody. And we'll see you guys later in a video. We'll have more NBA stuff, more football stuff, more baseball, more hockey, all that good stuff. And we'll be seeing you soon. Take care. Love y'all.
Later, everyone.
Peace out.
Love y'all tons.
See y'all.
Have a good one.